People aren't buying what they're selling on MSNBC, on CNN, or any of these liberal networks because why? It's not real. It's not true. It's a bunch of lies, like bought and paid for by somebody. Think about all the lies that we were fed, specifically vis-a-vis one Joe Biden. Poor Joe Biden. Remember this one here? I never liked Georgia Meloni as much as this moment in time. If you're listening on our audio Spotify podcast, thank you for that. I'll just describe what we're seeing. Georgia Meloni, you see this? She sees Biden wandering off because he's like attracted to the parachuters or something. And she just so gracefully moves herself aside. Everybody else, Macron, everybody, they're sitting there like bumps on a log, right? But Georgia's like totally the handler. She's acting like mom saying, oh my gosh, I got to get a handle on him. Gosh, look at him putting on his sunglasses. It takes him forever. He's moving slower. He's old, folks. He's old. And yet, good, kudos to Georgia Meloni, conservative, by the way, there, leading Italy. But you think about that and the way you weren't allowed to talk about this. We had to be really careful, right? You had to be super careful because you had to kind of qualify everything. I'd be like, well, I'm not a doctor, but you know what? I've seen this before. I've seen it before. And when you know, you know. And yet they all tried to cover it up. I mean, Lara Trump knew. And then Jake Tapper, who's writing a book on the cover-up now, think of the irony of this, trying to make another buck, he got all after her back in the day. He like slammed her down. This was unbelievable to watch, especially in light of everything.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you have
to
no
watch somebody on stage
that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have
is
one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Unbelievable, right? So this is the guy now out there peddling a book on the cover-up. He was the cover-up. Literally was the cover-up. And then when he decided, along with David Axelrod and David Plouffe, the Obama campaign handlers, Obama, George Clooney, when they all decided, okay, maybe this has gone too far and maybe actually Biden's not going to win, we need to put up Kamala, he went out and spoke, from his pulpit about how we had to get rid of Joe Biden and that the evidence was there. Well, Lara Trump told you the evidence was there. I told you the evidence was there. A lot of people knew the evidence was there. You refused to admit it. I mean, you and the rest of the media, for goodness sakes, these schmoes over at Morning Joe, best Biden ever. I mean, this makes me sick.
Now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you...
I'm just going to keep playing that and playing. I'm sorry. I know nobody wants to watch Morning Joe, but wow. Okay. Wow. So here's what I'm going to tell you. This media cover-up was so much bigger than anything you could possibly imagine. Joe Biden and his team wanted to control every single narrative. And by the way, they had the goods to do it, right? They had the deep state on speed dial. Think about the New York Post losing its Twitter account because it dared to say that Hunter Biden laptop was actually the real deal. And sure enough, Hunter Biden was being investigated by the FBI at the time, but you wouldn't know it because the whole apparatus of intel big shots came out, the 51X spooks, and they published a big article in Politico, which, by the way, was getting all kinds of USAID money, funny enough. And they said, no, this is just misinformation fed to you courtesy of Rudy Giuliani and the Russians. Oh, and Joe Biden, best Biden ever, right? Unbelievable. So, you know what? People are over it. They're not going to watch MSNBC, whether it's Rachel Maddow or Jen Psaki or anyone else for that matter. They know that MSNBC is lying to them. They know that Jake Tapper and CNN, they know they're lying to them. And so that in and of itself is a huge problem for the mainstream media that I don't know if they're ever going to really be able to overcome. You know, they have every incentive to lie. Think about that. That's what's really twisted about it all. I have no incentive to lie. I mean, if I lie to you, you're not going to come back. And I don't have like big advertisers, right? They're going to foot the bill anyway just because they want to be associated with Rachel Maddow or Jake Tapper. Unbelievable. But you know what? It's all coming back to haunt them, and it can't happen soon enough. This next story is something. Bernie Sanders, you guys. Bernie Sanders somehow thinks that he deserves a private jet when he flies to get the word out about how bad the oligarchy is. You know, a few months ago, I think I rolled some tape for you guys of him asking for money. He needs your money to fight the oligarchy. Well, guess what he's doing with your money? How do you like this? AOC, Bernie Sanders, socialists that they are, decide to go give a speech about, those big bad oligarchs. And they exit their private plane to do it. Kid you not, this is embarrassing for them, not that they have any shame. They have no shame. Absolutely, positively no shame. I mean, they're like the oligarchs themselves. So Bernie Sanders was asked about this. That's my shorts feed, by the way, on YouTube. Check it out when you can. Bernie Sanders was asked about this by a Fox News anchor, and he's like, he gets like mad about it. He's like, sort of like, how dare you? I'm not going to apologize for this. I have to take my private plane. Listen to this guy. I mean, you cannot make it up.
All right, last thing. You know, Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's scratching the itch that voters want to hear from?
I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear action to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
Well, Senator Sanders, I appreciate you coming on, talking about the issues.
And therefore, we must fly private. And therefore, we can't actually be sitting at the Newark, New Jersey air terminal waiting to see whether our United flight's going to take off because of all the FAA challenges. No. We're going to fly private. We're going to fight the oligarchs, right?